My friend, Looksmaxxing isn't gonna save you. I see a lot of guys, especially young guys, obsessed, obsessed with improving the way they look. Obsessed. I understand their perspective, but you're obsessed with, these terms, right? Hunter eyes, moga, right? I see these videos, right? And I'm just looking in the comments and stuff like that. And a lot of I mean, I do see negativity in a way that lots of comparison, which in like comparison from, let's say, a person, specifically if we're talking about people who are more attractive, like models, that is understandable, right? But I'm gonna be seeing comments like, oh, you don't have a good jawline, your life sucks. You don't have hunter eyes, your life sucks, right? What else? Many other things, skin, whatever, like these kind of things, right? And I find these things so hilarious. So hilarious. Like, I mean, I understand these guys' perspective, where they're coming from, but like, it's so hilarious. Like, you care so much of other people's validation. And let's be honest, if you're honest with yourself, if you don't lie to yourself, most of the time, the reason whatever you care about yourself, that you want to improve, is not because of yourself. It's because you want to change other people's behavior towards you. And you think being attractive will give you that. You think being tall will give you that. The problem is not necessarily the Looksmaxxing itself, but the expectation that you have from it. You expect your life is going to be fixed by Looksmaxxing. It's not. And yeah, you can say, yeah, you did mewing. I was never obsessed with it. I did mewing, but I was not even consistent. The reason I got the results which I got is because I did hard mewing, which I don't recommend at all. And I've talked about that. So I was not even obsessed with it. Though at one point I was obsessed with hairstyles, and look at now, like, do you think I care about it? Do you think, look at my beard, do you think I'm obsessed with these things? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't care about them. Of course you should, of course, no problem with that. But being obsessed with these things, and of course we can talk about the way you look matters. Of course it does, right? And I'm not necessarily ignoring the facts that being attractive helps you. It certainly does. But there are certain things which you may not be able to change, right? I see these guys talking about, oh, I don't have hunter eyes, right? My life sucks because I don't have hunter eyes. I don't have a good jawline. I'm short, this and that. Of course you are like the guy who's tall, right? He naturally has more advantage compared to a guy who is short. Why? Naturally, a guy who is tall is more dominant. Why? Because he's simply tall. Now, what is the reasoning behind that? Not necessarily that he is dominant, but he appears to be more dominant, appears like he, not dominant, but like he appears to be, that he would be respected more. He would command more respect if he's tall, just by being tall. Now, why? It's kind of like, it's just, like, it's just in you. You don't necessarily have to like say why. It's just like natural, right? Because the man who takes more space, let's say, when he's in the room, right, is going to be, at least appearing to be, commanding more respect, right? The man who is taller, at least appearing to be commanding more respect, right? That's the reality, which we don't have to ignore by any means. So of course, when you're tall, to an extent, life is easier in a way. Like, you can fight easier if you're tall, right? And I'm not saying that you can't when you're short, but I'm comparing the both things. Like, a guy who is short who knows how to fight, on the same level to this guy who is tall, who's gonna win? The guy who's tall, right? Because he's tall, right? He has more capacity to, win the fight, whatever you were saying, whatever you're talking about. Though I'm specifically, you guys will say, well, there are fighters who are short who have won. I'm not specifically comparing the ability to fight. I'm saying the ability to fight of both of these men, who the guy who is short and the guy who is tall, is the same. Who is gonna win? The guy who is taller, right? Do you understand what I mean? So I'm not specifically ignoring these things by any means. I'm not ignoring them. But there are certain things you can't change, and just because you can't change those things about yourself, why are you gonna be like, oh, your life sucks just because you don't have hentais, just your life sucks because you're not that tall? If I'm honest, and if you're honest with yourself, if you're genuinely honest with yourself, you don't care about it that much. Why? Why do you want to be tall? Ask yourself. Because you want other people to respect you more. That's why. Not necessarily that you want to be tall just because you want to be tall. And of course you would want to as a human, right? It would be easier for you, right? But most of the time it's because you care how other people would look at you, right? When you're attractive, right, you think you would get more women, right? You're told you think you would get more women. So of course it's related to people. And we are humans. We care about what people think of us and stuff like that. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But caring too much about it and beating yourself up like that you're not told, like, yes, you're not told, but you're just not told. This is your life now. What are you gonna do? Like, for how long are you gonna cry? I mean, this is your life. Someone else told you you're short, right? Say, I know. Because you are. And what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? And of course, I've said, being tall helps. Of course it does. But if you can't change that, no problem. Let's say you're 5'5". What if you were 4'5"? It's all about mental thing. You need to change your mentality. Like, I see a lot of these, they're, like I said, moga, right? I see a lot of these things like that. And people are comparing themselves. Oh, I don't have hunter eyes. I am not that tall and stuff like that. Which I understand where they're coming from. But like, I'm at a point in my life where, like, I don't even feel like I'm comparing myself to people, right? I'm a short guy, right? And I have people around me who are tall. And a person who has the mentality that these guys have, that, oh, that guy is taller, I am not. That guy has a good jawline, I don't have that. I don't have good jawline. That guy has hunter eyes and all of this stuff, right? He's going to be looking for these things, and he's going to be basically torturing himself, right? And for what? For what? For other people, not for himself, because he wants other people to look at him and say, oh, you're attractive. You've got a good jawline, or whatever it is, right? And so it's mostly because you care about what others would think of you, others would think of you, and which is, I mean, I understand that. You human, you would care about that, but to what level would you care that you would torture yourself? Right? Anyway, so I'm not at a point where I don't even feel like I'm comparing myself to people. Right? I see every single day tall people, right? Do you think I'm thinking, if only I was tall? And of course, this is the thing. In certain scenarios, you would think that if I was tall, life would be a little easier, and that is nothing wrong. That is the reality as well. But I don't feel like it doesn't necessarily, I don't feel like I need to be tall. Right? I don't feel like I'm comparing myself to someone. I don't feel like that. And I think that the reason behind this would be that what you expect from being told is something which you would get. Yeah, people would respect you more and stuff like that. True, absolutely. But you don't specifically need that. You don't need that. And of course, like the way you talk and all of that, that matters more than anything else. But like I said, we can't ignore these things. But because you don't have any control over them, you can't change them. So what do we do here? Change your image. That's the only way you're gonna be okay with yourself. That yeah, whatever things which you can't change, you'll be like, yeah, this is who I am. And you don't, like, let's say you don't have hunter eyes, you won't feel like you need to. If you don't have a good jawline, you won't feel like you need to have a good jawline. The reason you think that you need to have a good jawline is not necessarily because you want to. You want to, of course, but mostly it's related to other people, that they would think, oh, whatever your name is, you're attractive, you're tall, and all of this stuff, right? That's what you care about, which like I said, we are humans, we want that, right? We want validation. But like, you have what you have, you are who you are. Are you going to live your life for yourself in a way, like not necessarily for yourself? You can, of course, you do live life for others as well. That's the point of being human. But in this scenario, you not being able to change something about yourself, and you beating yourself up for it that you can't change because of others. You torturing yourself because of others. When I say because of others, what I mean is that because they would think you would be more attractive, right? More tall, or whatever it is, right? And like I said, these things would help, of course. But when you accept these things, you would be like, I don't need to have a good jawline. I don't need to be tall, right? I don't need to have hunter eyes. I don't need to have anything. I'm okay by myself. And it's the image inside you that you need to change, right? Like many things in Looksmaxxing, like skincare. There was a time where I would wake up and I would not even wash my face. So I was not necessarily the guy who would, was focused on Looksmaxxing or anything like that. And also, like, just like, look at me. Do you think I care that much? Not to say that you shouldn't. Of course you should. But yeah. So the solution is to change the internal image of yourself. And I know when you hear about acceptance, it sounds very like it's abstract. It doesn't necessarily make any sense. I think I would make a video about specifically this. It is acceptance, but it's like you don't feel like you need to have that thing which you previously thought that you need to have. Like, I don't feel like I need to be tall. Of course, if you were tall, it would help you, but you're not. And you don't feel like you need to. That's just how I feel, right? And I don't even feel like I'm comparing myself to people. If someone's tall, I don't think, oh, I wish I was tall. If someone's more attractive, I don't think, oh, if only I was more attractive. I don't think that way. I don't. And this is called liberation. You don't need these things. Like, you don't even need to be, like, you don't even want to be attractive. You want to be attractive, but most of the time, like I said, it's because of how other people will look at you, how they would treat you, and all of that stuff. And you want to live your life in this specific area, like caring so much how others would perceive you. Like, you're basically a slave if you live your life. If you live your life like this. So you need to change your internal image. That's what you need to work on.